What if the next time you order something online, it takes longer to arrive or costs more to deliver? Not because of anything happening in the United States, but because of a war happening thousands of miles away in the Middle East. Most people think of wars as political or military events, but conflicts in major energy regions can quietly affect the global economy in ways that reach directly into everyday life. One of the most surprising places those effects can show up is in something millions of Americans use every day: online shopping and home deliveries. Hello everyone, I'm Jennifer. Today we're going to explore why a war involving Iran in the Middle East could actually make Amazon deliveries more expensive for people across the United States. To understand how that happens, we need to follow a chain reaction that starts with global oil markets and ends with the trucks, airplanes, and warehouses that deliver packages to American homes. Let's begin with the first link in the chain: energy. The Middle East is one of the most important energy-producing regions in the world. Several countries in this region produce large quantities of oil that are shipped to global markets. One of the most critical locations in this system is a narrow waterway called the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean and serves as one of the most important energy shipping routes in the world. According to energy analysts and government agencies, roughly 20% of the world's oil supply moves through this single route every day. Because so much energy passes through this narrow corridor, any threat to shipping there immediately affects global markets. During periods of military tension or conflict involving Iran, the risk of disruption to ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz increases. Tankers carrying oil and natural gas may face delays, damage, or rerouting. In some cases, shipping companies avoid the area altogether. Recent reports show that escalating conflict in the region has already pushed oil prices above $100 per barrel, as traders worry about supply disruptions and attacks on shipping routes. When oil prices rise, the effects spread quickly across the global economy. And this is where the connection to online deliveries begins. Oil is the raw material used to produce fuels like gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel. These fuels power nearly every part of the global logistics system. Cargo ships that move goods across oceans run on fuel derived from oil. Airplanes that transport packages across continents run on jet fuel. Trucks that deliver packages to warehouses and homes run primarily on diesel. When oil prices rise, the cost of these fuels rises as well. That means the cost of moving goods through the supply chain becomes more expensive. Transportation and logistics companies depend heavily on fuel to operate their fleets. Research into freight logistics shows that fuel is one of the largest operating costs for shipping companies, and rising fuel prices quickly increase the cost of transporting goods. Even a moderate increase in fuel prices can significantly change the cost of logistics. And because e-commerce depends heavily on transportation networks, those higher costs can eventually affect companies like Amazon. To understand why, let's take a closer look at how a typical online order actually travels from a warehouse to your home. When someone places an order online, the product usually begins its journey inside a fulfillment center. These massive warehouses store millions of items and prepare them for shipment. From there, packages are often transported by trucks to regional sorting facilities. At those facilities, they are organized and routed to delivery centers closer to the customer. In many cases, packages also travel by airplane between major distribution hubs across the country. Finally, delivery drivers load packages onto vans or trucks and bring them directly to homes. Every step of that process relies on transportation, and every vehicle involved in that system consumes fuel. When fuel prices rise due to global oil disruptions, the cost of running these transportation networks rises as well. For trucking companies in particular, diesel fuel is one of the largest operating expenses. When diesel prices increase, the cost of moving goods across long distances increases as well. This creates a ripple effect throughout the logistics industry. Freight companies raise shipping rates, transportation providers add fuel surcharges, retailers and e-commerce companies face higher distribution costs. Eventually, some of those costs are passed along to consumers. This doesn't always happen immediately, but over time, it becomes difficult for businesses to absorb higher transportation expenses without adjusting prices or delivery fees. There is another important factor that can increase delivery costs during geopolitical conflicts: shipping insurance. When a region becomes dangerous for commercial ships, insurance companies raise premiums to cover the increased risk. Recent reports show that maritime insurance premiums for ships operating near the Persian Gulf have increased dramatically due to the conflict involving Iran. In some cases, war risk insurance premiums have surged more than tenfold because of the increased danger to vessels traveling through the region. Higher insurance costs mean it becomes more expensive to transport goods by sea. Shipping companies then raise freight rates to cover those additional expenses. This matters because a large portion of the products sold online in the United States are manufactured overseas and transported by cargo ships. Electronics, clothing, household goods, and countless other products travel thousands of miles by sea before reaching American ports. If shipping costs increase because of war-related risks or higher fuel prices, retailers must pay more to move those goods. In many cases, those higher costs eventually show up in product prices or shipping fees. Another effect of geopolitical conflict is the disruption of global shipping routes. If certain regions become unsafe for ships to pass through, vessels may have to take longer routes around the world. For example, when key maritime routes become dangerous due to military tensions, shipping companies sometimes reroute vessels around the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa. These detours can add thousands of miles to a journey and extend shipping times by several weeks. Longer routes mean ships burn more fuel. More fuel means higher transportation costs. And once again, those costs ripple through supply chains and logistics networks. Global supply chain analysts warn that disruptions involving the Strait of Hormuz could create delays and increase freight costs across international trade routes. For e-commerce companies that rely on predictable supply chains, these disruptions can create serious challenges. Warehouses may receive inventory later than expected. Shipping schedules may become less reliable. Transportation costs may increase unexpectedly. When these problems occur at large scale, the effects can reach consumers in several ways. One possibility is higher prices for certain products. Another is longer delivery times for certain items. And in some cases, companies may introduce or increase delivery fees to offset higher logistics costs. Amazon itself operates one of the largest logistics networks in the world. The company manages a massive system of fulfillment centers, delivery stations, cargo planes, and delivery vehicles. Running that network requires enormous amounts of fuel. In fact, the transportation systems that power modern e-commerce are some of the most energy-intensive logistics networks ever created. That means global fuel prices can have a significant impact on the cost of operating these systems. If diesel, gasoline, and jet fuel become more expensive because of rising oil prices, the cost of operating delivery fleets rises as well. Companies often try to absorb some of those costs through efficiency improvements, route optimization, or other logistical changes. But if fuel prices remain high for extended periods, it becomes more difficult to avoid passing some of those costs on to customers. There is also another layer to this story that many people overlook. Energy prices influence the cost of manufacturing as well. Many factories around the world depend on oil, natural gas, or petroleum-based materials to produce goods. When energy prices rise, manufacturing costs can increase. That means products themselves may become more expensive before they even enter the shipping system. For example, plastics used in packaging and consumer goods are made from petrochemicals derived from oil and natural gas. Reports have already indicated that disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz could affect exports of petrochemical materials used to produce plastics and other industrial products. If the cost of these materials rises, manufacturers may increase prices. Retailers may then pass those increases on to consumers. Combined with higher shipping costs, the overall price of many goods could rise. Economists often describe this process as a ripple effect. A disruption in one part of the global economy spreads outward through supply chains, transportation systems, and energy markets. Eventually, those effects reach businesses and consumers around the world. For American households, the impact may not always be obvious. A small increase in shipping costs might only add a few dollars to the price of certain products. A slight delay in global shipping routes might add a few days to delivery times. But when these effects occur across millions of packages and thousands of products, the total impact on the economy can become significant. And because online shopping has become such a major part of everyday life in the United States, changes in the cost of logistics can affect millions of consumers. In recent years, e-commerce has grown rapidly across the country. Millions of households now rely on online platforms to purchase everything from electronics and clothing to groceries and household supplies. Fast delivery has become one of the defining features of modern e-commerce. But maintaining those fast delivery networks requires a vast infrastructure of transportation and energy. When global conflicts disrupt energy markets, that infrastructure becomes more expensive to operate. This is why economists and supply chain experts pay close attention to geopolitical developments in major energy regions. Conflicts in those areas can influence global oil prices, shipping routes, and transportation costs. And through the interconnected networks of global trade, those changes can reach consumers thousands of miles away. So the next time you place an online order and wonder why shipping costs seem a little higher or delivery times seem a little longer, the explanation might involve forces far beyond your local community. Through global energy markets and international supply chains, events in distant regions can shape the everyday experiences of consumers around the world. From fuel prices and shipping insurance to logistics networks and warehouse operations, the modern economy connects distant events in ways that are often invisible. But those connections are real, and sometimes they show up right at your doorstep in the form of a package delivery. Thank you for watching. I'm Jennifer, and I hope this video helped explain how a conflict thousands of miles away could influence something as ordinary as an Amazon delivery in the United States. itsupplychain.com. How-the Iran conflict could disrupt global supply chains from Amazon deliveries to industrial parts. How the Iran conflict could disrupt global supply chains. apnews.com/article/ECAB 41EC6A365E 58282F4CF BAB62A9FF. Crude oil prices surpass $100 a barrel as the Iran war impedes production and shipping. AustraliaWideHaulage.com.au/how-oil-prices-affect logistics and freight costs. How oil prices affect logistics and freight costs. RiversideLogistics.com/how-does the price of a barrel of oil affect your freight costs. How does the price of a barrel of oil affect your freight cost? https://www.reuters.com/world/Middle East/maritime-insurance-premiums-surge. Iran-conflict-widens. 2026-03 closebreak UTM_source equals chatgpt.com. Maritime insurance premiums surge as Iran conflict widens. https://www.axios.com/2026/03/09/oil prices Iran-war Strait-Hormuz. UTM_source equals chatgpt.com. Oil, gas prices spike as Iran war thrusts Strait of Hormuz into crisis.